In the fading light of a cold January afternoon in 1945, Dr. Hanna Park stood motionless in the depths of an underground research facility nestled deep within the Bavarian Alps. The concrete walls seemed to breathe with the weight of countless secrets, and the air felt thick with tension. Outside, the world was crumbling. Nazi Germany was in its final, desperate moments of existence. Hanna's fingers traced the delicate circuits of a device that looked more like an intricate piece of art than a scientific instrument. It was a quantum entanglement prototype, a machine that defied everything conventional science understood about reality. Her colleague, J. Kim, watched from across the room, his eyes darting between Hanna and the laboratory's reinforced door. The facility had been built in absolute secrecy. Nazi leadership believed it was a weapons research center, but Hanna and J knew the truth. They were working on something far more extraordinary, a technology that could potentially rewrite the very fabric of human existence. Dust particles danced in the dim light of a single hanging bulb. The room was cold, sterile, with metal cabinets lining the walls and complex machinery, humming with a subtle electrical pulse. Scattered technical drawings and quantum calculation sheets covered a large wooden table, each page filled with mathematical equations that would make most scientists' heads spin. Jay approached Hanna, his steps careful and measured. "We don't have much time," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the low mechanical hum of the equipment. The sounds of distant artillery could be heard, muffled explosions that reminded them of the world's chaos just meters above their underground sanctuary. Hanna nodded, her hands moving with practiced precision. She understood the risks. If the Nazi leadership discovered the true nature of their research, they would be executed immediately. But what they were developing was bigger than the war, bigger than any single moment in human history. The quantum device was unlike anything ever created. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. Instead, it was a complex machine designed to create quantum entanglement across multiple potential timelines. In simple terms, it could potentially allow communication or observation between different versions of reality. Years of secret research, stolen resources, and carefully hidden experiments had led to this moment. Hanna and Jay had been working in complete isolation, using their exceptional scientific skills to push the boundaries of human understanding. They were not just scientists. They were revolutionaries, fighting a different kind of war. "Ready?" Jay asked, his hand hovering near a series of complicated switches and dials. Hanna took a deep breath. Her heart raced, but her hands remained steady. "Activate primary quantum resonance," she commanded. The machine began to pulse. Soft blue and green, lights flickered across its surface, creating mesmerizing patterns that seemed to move beyond normal three-dimensional space. The room's temperature dropped slightly, and the air felt charged with an unexplainable energy. Something was happening. The quantum device was responding in ways they had only theoretically predicted. Quantum threads began to weave themselves, creating invisible connections that transcended normal physical limitations. Outside, the world continued to burn. The Nazi regime was collapsing. Cities were being reduced to rubble. Millions had died. But here, in this hidden underground laboratory, two scientists were about to change everything they understood about human potential. Jay watched in amazement as subtle holographic fragments began to materialize around the device. Momentary glimpses of other realities, other potential versions of human resistance, started to flicker in and out of existence. Hanna realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. This was not just a scientific experiment. This was a moment that could potentially redefine human understanding of reality, time, and collective human experience. The quantum device hummed louder. The holographic fragments became more defined. Soldiers from different timelines, resistance fighters from alternate realities, began to share brief, mysterious connections. In that moment, Hanna and Jay understood that they were no longer just scientists. They were guardians of a technology that could potentially save humanity across multiple versions of reality. The first part of their incredible journey was about to begin. The city of Berlin burned like a massive funeral pyre. Smoke billowed into the gray sky, creating a dark blanket that seemed to suffocate hope itself. In the midst of this chaos, Dr. Hannah Park's quantum device continued its mysterious operation, quietly humming in the underground laboratory. Jae Kim watched in total amazement as strange quantum threads began weaving themselves around the machine. These weren't just normal scientific readings. Something extraordinary was happening. The device was creating connections between different moments in time, different versions of reality. Suddenly, holographic images started to materialize around them. At first, they were just blurry shapes. Then they became clearer. Soldiers from different timelines wearing uniforms from various periods began to flicker in and out of existence. One soldier appeared wearing a tattered resistance uniform from what seemed like an alternate version of 1945. His face was weathered, with deep scars that told stories of brutal battles. He looked directly at Hannah and Jae, his eyes filled with a mixture of hope and desperation. "We've been waiting," the soldier whispered, his voice crackling like an old radio transmission. "Waiting for someone to connect us." Jae's hands moved quickly across the control panel. He was trying to stabilize the quantum connections to understand what was happening. The machine was behaving in ways they had never predicted. Quantum mechanics had always suggested multiple realities could exist, but this was proof beyond any scientific theory. More images appeared. Resistance fighters from different potential worlds began sharing fragments of information. A woman from another timeline showed an advanced communication device. Another soldier shared tactical information about Nazi infrastructure vulnerabilities. Hannah realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. These weren't just random images, they were strategic connections. Resistance fighters across different realities were starting to share knowledge, to coordinate in ways never before possible. The quantum device continued its complex dance. Electrical sparks danced around its surface, creating beautiful and terrifying patterns. The laboratory temperature dropped several degrees and the air felt charged with an unexplainable energy. Outside, Berlin continued to collapse. The Nazi regime was crumbling, its final moments marked by destruction and defeat. But here, in this hidden underground space, something remarkable was emerging, a network of human resistance that transcended time and reality. Jae noticed something fascinating. Each quantum connection seemed to carry specific information. Weapon designs, strategic maps, communication protocols, all were being shared across these mysterious threads. It was as if multiple versions of human resistance were combining their knowledge. "We're creating a collective human network," Hannah said quietly, her eyes wide with understanding. "Not just across space, but across different potential realities." The soldier from the alternate timeline nodded. "We've been isolated fighting our own battles, but now we're connected. We can help each other." More images appeared. Resistance groups from worlds where technology had developed differently began sharing their experiences. Some showed advanced weapons, others demonstrated complex communication strategies. Each fragment added to a growing mosaic of human survival and resistance. Jae worked frantically to maintain the quantum connections. He knew these moments were fragile, that the network could collapse at any second. His fingers moved across switches and dials, creating stabilization fields that would help maintain these extraordinary connections. Hannah watched in total concentration. She understood they were witnessing something beyond a simple scientific experiment. This was a moment that could potentially redefine human potential, showing how collective knowledge and cooperation could overcome seemingly impossible challenges. The quantum device pulsed with increasing intensity. The holographic images became more stable, more defined. Resistance fighters from different timelines began to share not just information, but hope. They were no longer alone in their struggles. As the final moments of the Nazi regime played out, in the world above, something incredible was happening in this hidden laboratory. A network of human resistance was being born, a connection that transcended time, space, and individual realities. Jae and Hannah looked at each other, understanding that they were part of something much larger than themselves. The quantum breach was complete, and nothing would ever be the same again. The quantum network expanded like a living web, pulsing with an energy that defied conventional understanding. Resistance groups from countless timelines began to merge their knowledge, creating a collective intelligence that grew stronger with each passing moment. Hana watched in amazement as strategic information flooded through quantum channels. Weak points in Nazi infrastructure appeared like illuminated maps, revealing hidden research facilities, secret communication lines, and critical supply routes. It was as if the collective human consciousness was dissecting the enemy's entire operational structure. Jay worked furiously at the control panel, routing quantum signals with incredible precision. His fingers moved like a musician playing a complex instrument, stabilizing connections that seemed impossible just hours before. The quantum device hummed with increased intensity, creating a bridge between realities that had previously been completely separate. A resistance fighter from an alternate 1945 appeared first. His uniform was different, more advanced, with technology that looked like it belonged to a future far beyond their current world. He began sharing detailed tactical information about Nazi communication networks, showing vulnerabilities that no single timeline had previously discovered. Another image materialized. A woman from a reality where technological development had taken a completely different path. She demonstrated a communication device that could disrupt enemy signals across multiple frequencies. Her knowledge merged seamlessly with the information from other resistance fighters. The quantum threads began weaving a tapestry of human resistance. Each fragment of information became a crucial piece of a larger puzzle. Weapon designs, escape routes, strategic insights, all became shared knowledge. The isolated struggles of individual resistance groups were transforming into a unified global, multidimensional effort. "We're creating something unprecedented," Hana whispered to Jay. Her eyes reflected both excitement and profound understanding. They were no longer just scientists. They had become architects of a transdimensional resistance movement. Soldiers from different timelines began to appear more clearly. Some wore uniforms from worlds where the war had played out differently. Others represented resistance movements from realities where technology had advanced in ways their current world could not imagine. Each brought unique knowledge, unique perspectives. A soldier from a timeline where quantum technology was more advanced showed how to create localized temporal disruptions. Another demonstrated communication techniques that could completely bypass Nazi encryption. The collective knowledge grew exponentially with each passing minute. Jay noticed something remarkable. The quantum network was becoming more than just a communication tool. It was developing a kind of collective consciousness. Resistance fighters were not just sharing information. They were sharing hope, strategy, and an unbreakable human spirit. TCR. Laboratory trembled slightly. Outside, the final moments of Nazi Germany played out in brutal reality. But here, in this hidden space, a different battle was being fought. A battle that transcended time, space, and individual realities. More connections appeared. A resistance group from a world where they had developed advanced electromagnetic weapons. Another from a timeline where genetic engineering had created enhanced human capabilities. Each connection added another layer to their growing network. Hana realized they were witnessing the birth of something extraordinary. This was more than just a scientific experiment. This was humanity's ultimate defense mechanism, a collective intelligence that could overcome the most extreme challenges. The quantum device pulsed with increasing power. Electrical sparks danced around its surface, creating patterns that seemed to move beyond three-dimensional space. The air felt charged, alive with possibilities that moments ago would have seemed impossible. Jay looked at Hana. No words were needed. They both understood the magnitude of what was happening. They had created a network that could potentially save humanity across multiple realities. Resistance fighters from different timelines began to coordinate their efforts. Tactical information merged, strategic insights combined. It was like watching a massive multidimensional chess game, where humanity was finally playing with its full potential. The network continued to grow. Each connection made the collective stronger. Each shared piece of knowledge brought them closer to a comprehensive understanding of their enemy. As the world above continued to burn, something incredible was being born in this hidden laboratory. A trans-dimensional uprising was taking shape, a testament to human resilience, human creativity, and the unbreakable spirit of resistance. The quantum network reached a critical point of convergence. Advanced resistance groups from potential futures began to materialize with increasing clarity, their technologies so advanced they seemed almost magical. Hana watched in total amazement as the first future resistance fighter appeared. He wore a sleek uniform that seemed to shimmer and change colors, adapting to the surrounding environment. Sophisticated devices surrounded him, technologies that looked more like living organisms than mechanical equipment. "We've been waiting," the future fighter said, his voice calm and steady. "Your moment is critical to our entire timeline's survival." Jay worked frantically at the quantum control panel. The device was now behaving like a living entity, creating connections that defied all known scientific understanding. Quantum threads began weaving themselves into complex patterns, connecting multiple potential realities. The future resistance fighter began sharing information. Detailed maps of Nazi infrastructure appeared, not just from their current timeline but from multiple potential realities. Weak points, communication networks, hidden research facilities, all became visible in stunning detail. Another fighter appeared, this time a woman from a timeline where technology had developed along completely different paths. Her equipment looked organic, almost biological. She demonstrated communication techniques that could disrupt enemy networks in ways never before imagined. "We've been fighting the same enemy across multiple realities," she explained. Her voice carried a weight of experience that spoke of countless battles. "Now we can finally work together." The laboratory began to change. Quantum energy created strange holographic projections, showing potential battle strategies from different timelines. Weapons that seemed impossible began to take shape. Electromagnetic disruptors, temporal communication devices, adaptive combat technologies. Hana realized they were witnessing something profound. Human adaptability was the most powerful quantum force. No matter the timeline, no matter the challenges, humans found a way to resist, to survive, to fight back. Jay noticed something extraordinary. The quantum network was developing its own form of intelligence. It wasn't just sharing information, it was actively creating new strategies, combining knowledge from multiple realities into something entirely new. More future resistance fighters appeared. Some showed advanced medical technologies that could heal injuries instantly. Others demonstrated communication systems that could penetrate any known encryption. Each arrival brought new hope, new possibilities. The device pulsed with increasing power. Electrical sparks danced around its surface, creating patterns that seemed to move beyond normal perception. The air felt charged, alive with potential. Fighter from a timeline where genetic engineering had advanced dramatically appeared. He demonstrated human augmentation techniques that could enhance physical and mental capabilities beyond current understanding. Strength, intelligence, resilience, all could be dramatically improved. "We are not just fighting," the genetic enhanced fighter explained. "We are evolving, adapting, becoming something more." Hana and Jay watched in total concentration. They were no longer just scientists. They had become architects of a multi-dimensional resistance movement. Each connection made the network stronger, more comprehensive. The quantum threads began to create something unprecedented, a collective human consciousness that transcended individual timelines. Strategies merged, knowledge combined, hope became a tangible force. Outside, Berlin continued to burn. The Nazi regime was in its final moments. But here, in this hidden laboratory, a different battle was being fought. A battle that would determine the future of humanity across multiple realities. More connections appeared. Resistance groups from worlds where technology had developed in ways they could never have imagined. Fighters who had faced and overcome challenges that seemed impossible. Each arrival added another layer to their growing network. Jay looked at Hana. No words were needed. They both understood the magnitude of what was happening. They had created a network that could potentially save humanity across multiple realities. The ion convergence continued. Quantum energy built to a crescendo. The laboratory seemed to vibrate with potential, with hope, with the collective spirit of human resistance. As the world above approached its final moments, something extraordinary was taking shape. A multi-dimensional resistance was emerging, a testament to human creativity, human resilience, and the unbreakable spirit of survival. The final moment arrived with a sudden, brilliant explosion of quantum energy. Resistance fighters from countless timelines converged in a single, devastating coordinated assault that would destroy the Nazi regime across multiple realities. Hannah and Jay watched as the quantum network reached its absolute peak of potential. The device vibrated with an intensity that seemed to make reality itself tremble. Around them, holographic projections of resistance fighters from different worlds began to align their strategies with unprecedented precision. A fighter from a future timeline spoke first. "This is our moment," he said, his voice cutting through the quantum noise. "We destroy not just one Nazi regime, but every potential version of their threat." Jay's fingers moved across the control panel with lightning speed. He was coordinating quantum signals that would simultaneously strike every identified weak point in the Nazi infrastructure. Communication networks, research facilities, command structures, all would fall in a single synchronized moment. The resistance fighters began their attack. Quantum weapons that defied current understanding of physics started to activate. Electromagnetic pulses, temporal disruption fields, advanced communication jammers, all targeted specific points across multiple realities. Hannah watched in absolute concentration. The quantum device was no longer just a machine. It had become a living network of human resistance, a collective consciousness fighting against oppression. Each connection made their attack stronger, more precise. In one timeline, a resistance group disabled a critical Nazi communication hub. In another, advanced technological weapons destroyed key research facilities. Another team infiltrated and dismantled leadership structures. The attacks were simultaneous, coordinated, devastating. The laboratory itself seemed to pulse with energy. Electrical sparks danced around the quantum device, creating patterns that moved beyond normal perception. The air felt charged with possibility, with hope, with the collective human spirit of resistance. "We are not just fighting," a resistance fighter from an alternate timeline said. "We are ensuring that no version of this threat can ever rise again." Jay noticed something extraordinary. The quantum network was actively adapting, creating new strategies in real time. It wasn't just a communication tool anymore. It was a living, thinking entity dedicated to human survival. More attacks followed. Temporal disruption fields created gaps in Nazi operational capabilities. Advanced communication technologies completely destroyed their ability to coordinate. Resistance fighters from different worlds worked as a single unified force. Hannah realized they were witnessing something beyond a military operation. This was a collective human response to oppression. No matter the timeline, no matter the challenges, humanity found a way to resist, to fight back, to survive. The quantum device reached its peak intensity. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist around the laboratory. Holographic projections of resistance fighters merged, creating a collective image of human determination. "This ends now," a fighter from a genetic-enhanced timeline said. Her voice carried the weight of countless battles, countless struggles. The final assault began. Quantum weapons, unlike anything previously imagined, targeted every potential version of the Nazi regime. Research facilities disappeared. Communication networks collapsed. Leadership structures were completely dismantled. Jay and Hannah watched in total concentration. They had created something extraordinary, a multi-dimensional resistance network that could overcome the most extreme challenges. The attacks continued. Each moment brought another critical strike, another weakness exposed, another potential threat eliminated. The Nazi regime was being systematically destroyed across multiple realities. Resistance fighters from different worlds began to celebrate, not with traditional victory celebrations, but with a quiet, profound understanding of what they had achieved. They had not just won a battle, they had ensured human freedom across multiple potential futures. The quantum device began to collapse, its energy slowly dissipating. The holographic projections started to fade, but the impact of their coordinated assault would remain forever. In the final moments, Hana and Jay looked at each other. They understood they had changed everything. They had created a network that proved the true power of human resistance, human adaptability, human hope. The laboratory grew quiet. The quantum device made one final hum, and then silence. Reich's fall was complete.